Settle down, everyone. My name is Councillor Dube, and today I'm going to be talking to you about your sexual and reproductive health rights. Anyone know what that means?
I do.
Yes, Pussy.
It's a state of physical, emotional, mental and social well-being when it comes to sexuality and reproduction.
That's right. And did you know that everyone in South Africa has a right to access these services, as well as the freedom to make free and responsible decisions and choices about their own bodies? Sounds good, right? But it's not always that simple. Mr. Collins, will you help me out here?
Sexual and reproductive health rights, or SRHR, includes the right to define one's sexuality and choose one's partner freely without inequality or discrimination, violence, torture, or punishment. This means whether you choose to be a guy who dates girls or a girl who dates girls, both are acceptable and deserve to be treated equally with dignity and respect.
But being gay is un-African.
Says who?
Ugogwam told me that a man must lay with a woman, and that's what God says.
Well, Jabbo, some of your sexual and reproductive health rights include the right to your own identity, the right to choose your partner, as well as the right to information and sexuality education. And you know that knowledge is power.
I guess.
Well, you guessed right. When I came out as a gay man many years ago, I faced a lot of hatred and violence from my community. They didn't understand that you don't choose who you are attracted to or who you love. God made me that way, and I'm African, all right?
So why does God even make people gay?
God created us all and loves us all. He doesn't care who we love as long as we love Him.
And it's your right to explore your sexuality and see what feels right for you.
I know from experience that sexuality is not a choice.
It's not. And whatever your orientation is, we encourage safe sexual behavior and exploration from a young age.
We also encourage acceptance and tolerance. Just because someone has a different sexual orientation to you does not mean that you can disrespect them or treat them badly. Every person deserves to be treated with equality, kindness, and respect.
Often, there is gender-based violence against someone because of their gender or sexual orientation. It can be directed at men or women, but in South Africa, women and homosexual people suffer the most at the hands of intolerant people.
At the end of the day, it is your body and your life.
And you can decide how you want to live it.
Kennedy.
Often, the concepts of sex, gender identity, and sexuality are confused. Take a look at this gender-bred person. When people refer to someone's sex, they are talking about the biological characteristics that identify them as male, female, or intersex at birth. So, if someone has a penis, for example,
Society expects them to identify as a man.
Exactly, Lucinda. And gender expression is about how you appear to others. This is seen through the way you dress and how you behave, and every person is allowed to express their gender freely in their own way. Identity, on the other hand, is who you know yourself to be, based on the options your gender offers you.
And lastly, sexuality or sexual orientation is about who you are emotionally, spiritually, romantically, and sexually attracted to.
Yeah.
If any of you are struggling on your journey or are confused about who you are and who you love, my door is always open and I will always respect your right to privacy.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Collins. my door is also always open to you all for anything.
Questions, concerns, fears, come and talk to us.
So, another right that every South African has is the right to the highest standard of health, high-quality services, as well as the right to privacy.
And you can decide whether you want to be married or not, and whether you want to have children and how many or not. It is your choice.
So, SRHR is made up of 4 parts: sexual health and sexual rights.
And reproductive health and reproductive rights.
So now, we're going to break up into our classrooms and discuss the 4 parts of SRHR and what they mean for every single one of us.
Okay, everyone, let's get into it, Manje. Tatenda, can you please read what sexual health is about?
Sexual health means everyone has access to sexual counseling and care and access to services to prevent STIs.
Yes, those are sexually transmitted infections, mantombazana na bafana.
And also the human papilloma vaccine, HPV, for young girls around 9 years old who aren't sexually active. This vaccine prevents cervical cancer.
Thank you, Tatenda, that's right. Any questions?
And sexual health, is it free for local clinics for everyone in South Africa?
Correct, Temba. It's your right to have those sexual health services. But then, what are your sexual rights?
They are human rights.
Yes, they are. And like Councillor Dube and Mr. Collins were saying, this includes the right to choose your partner and whether to marry them and receive a high standard of sexual and reproductive health services and education.
What about having babies with them?
That is part of reproductive health and reproductive rights, Dinewo, and includes your right to information and services needed to maintain reproductive health and managing your period in a hygienic, private, and dignified way. Access to contraception, safe abortion, and services that support survivors of gender-based violence. And the rights then? Well, you have the right to decide, and that includes deciding if you even want children and how many you want to have. Think very carefully about that one, Bafundi. You can't give them back.
But this obviously only applies to men and women who are old enough to have children, right?
Health rights apply to everyone, but reproductive rights are only applicable when you're of an age to reproduce. This is defined by puberty, the process where a child moves to adulthood.
What a process that is. Bigger boobs, more bodily hair, a change in body shape, and that's just for girls.
That's your body getting ready for children, Karabo. And with girls, it begins around the age of 8, ends around maybe 15 to 17 years, while boys begin around the age of 11 and end around 16, 17 years.
And when should women start their periods?
Everybody is different, but it usually starts between the ages of 12 and 13, when the eggs mature. It's the same age where boys begin to ejaculate. Gross!
Gundati, it's not, man. Ma'am, what about masturbation? Is that wrong?
People of all ages, all genders and sexual orientations masturbate. Even young children masturbate as they learn to explore their bodies. It's perfectly healthy and normal, even though some cultural and religious beliefs disagree.
Yeah, some of those religious and cultural beliefs don't believe in masturbation, but they do believe in child marriage. Ek kan nie.
There's a name for it, Uktwala, where girls are abducted and forced to marry older men against their will. This practice is common in rural KwaZulu-Natal and the Eastern Cape. This type of marriage comes in different forms. It can be arranged or forced, both of which violate the sexual and reproductive health rights of girls, including their right to basic education, health, freedom, and the right to choose their partner.
Ma'am, that is crazy.
Right, class? That's all we have time for today. You all have a lot to think about. I'll see you tomorrow morning. Litsamaye gabotse.